A large slice of the Congo profit was earmarked for Ostend. Leopold set about turning a seaside village into a rival to Queen Victoria's Brighton. Ostend was going to be his most expensive architectural project. He built Venetian galleries to shelter the rich from the cold North Sea, a palace for himself, a casino, a golf course, and a racetrack. Leopold never completed his grand scheme, but a grateful people honored him with a giant statue.
Nu staan we hier voor een monument. Een monument dat maar dateert van 1931. Wil zeggen, 22 jaar na het overlijden van de koning. Verplicht ons om op te kijken vanuit kikvorstperspectief naar de koning. En men verplicht ons daar romantische voorstelling van het zogezegde nationale grootste verleden.
And that romantic vision of Belgium's past has to be carefully protected.
Dan is het soms moeilijk als ik een groep voor mij heb om te weten natuurlijk hoe de mensen staan tegenover die koning. Maar ik moet zeggen, als ik vermoed dat er echt zware royalisten of mensen die dus geen enkel kwaad woord over Leopold willen horen bij zijn, dan ben ik zeer voorzichtig, moet ik wel zeggen.
Once Leopold dominated Kinshasa too, but in the last years of his reign the Congo was handed over to the Belgian state, which gratefully held control in his name for half a century.
Et c'est ainsi qu'au cœur de l'Afrique noire, la Belgique réalise le rêve d'un grand roi.
The king no longer has pride of place. The Congo is independent. Leopoldville is now Kinshasa, and Leopold is in a junkyard.
Pour moi, c'était Léopold II en personne. Pas la statue de Léopold II, mais Léopold II. Tellement grand, tellement haut, qui semblait être là pour m'écraser, me dominer. Et puis, pas question de passer devant le cheval. Il fallait passer derrière. C'est comme si je me sentais obligé de respirer l'odeur des excréments du cheval de Léopold II. Après l'indépendance, il était encore là. Enfin, c'était une vraie provocation. Et puis enfin, est arrivé le jour où je suis là et je vois des jeunes gens tirer Léopold II. Une revanche, une joie de voir enfin ce scandale par terre, là où il devait se trouver.
But it takes more than destroying symbols to wipe out generations of foreign occupation.
Leopold, roi Leopold.
Ah, oui.
Azalanki mokonzi monene, c'est un Belge oyo a coloniser biso awa.
Donc biso na ye toza na likambo.
Bon, aza noko na biso ye nde moto alingi colonisation na biso nde moto alakisi biso civilisation ezali ye.
Leopold once wrote, "A people which is content with its homeland and which dreads even the shadow of a conflict lacks the characteristics of a superior race."
A Belgian officer had been dispatched with a force of some 50 or 60 men to capture a chief. In rummaging in the huts for plunder, they came upon two women, a mother and daughter, who had not had the time to get away. They were brought up before the officer, who demanded of them where the chief was in hiding. They either did not know or would not tell. He ordered them to be secured and laid out on the ground. And a stalwart soldier then proceeded to administer 50 strokes of the shakot to each. The flogging continued until each had received 200 lashes. Finally, this Belgian officer ordered his men to cut off the breasts of the women and left them to die where they lay.
In Brussels, the statues of Leopold have not been pulled down. The old king is still part of a Belgian dynasty. Leopold's Saxe-Coburg pedigree was impeccable. His father, Leopold I, was Queen Victoria's uncle. His mother, Louise Marie d'Orléans, the eldest daughter of the French king. His father hadn't much time for the young prince, describing him as the little tyrant, and his mother remarked unkindly how he was disfigured by his enormous nose, which gives him a bird-like air.
I think his mother was rather insignificant there, and maybe also this explains a lot about his character, the lack of love, the lack of affection, which he compensated by saying that affection didn't bother him, or as he told at the end of his life when he was very unpopular, that he was not interested in popularity. Of course, this was a way of saying I'm very sad about the fact that I'm not popular.
Leopold's arranged marriage to the 16-year-old Archduchess Maria Theresa was a disaster. A society lady summed up the match as being between a stable boy and a nun. And by nun, she meant Leopold. The couple had to get sex advice from Aunt Victoria and Uncle Albert on a visit to London. They did have 3 daughters. Their son died young, so there was no surviving male heir. At the start of his reign, Leopold proclaimed, "My ambition is to make Belgium greater, stronger, and more beautiful." He had no doubts that the country needed improving.
Leopold did always complain that Belgium was a small country with small people, but he certainly wasn't a small king. I mean, not only was he extremely tall, but I think he had enormous ambitions for himself. And I think he felt resentment about his relatively low and humble role within the Saxe-Coburg dynasty. I mean, he really wasn't very important compared with Victoria, compared with the Kaiser. And I think that he therefore felt that personally, if you like. I mean, he was somebody for whom l'État was definitely c'est moi, and therefore the elevation of Belgium was necessarily the elevation of himself.
Like his father, Leopold believed that having a colony was the way to achieve greatness. Leopold I made over 50 attempts to get a colony, all to no avail. His son was going to be more successful. Even before Leopold became king, he had sent the Belgian finance minister a piece of marble from the Acropolis inscribed, "Belgium must have a colony."
Leopold II leefde in de tweede helft van de 19e eeuw. En in feite was hij 100 jaar achter op de ideeën. Engeland, of Groot-Brittannië als je wil, Frankrijk, Nederland, op dat moment in het laatste kwartaal van de 19e eeuw, dachten unaniem dat een kolonie geen geld moest opbrengen op de eerste plaats voor het moederland, maar dat het moederland zelf moest geld investeren en met de winst die daar gemaakt werd ter plaatse moest houden voor de administratie, voor het leger, voor de ordehandhaving en voor de inlandse bevolking. En nu Leopold II dacht er helemaal niet aan. Het moest geld opbrengen voor het moederland en niet vice versa.
Leopold set about buying his new colony. He tried Sarawak, the New Hebrides, the Fiji Islands, and the Philippines, until there was practically nowhere else left for him to look, apart from one place. At the start of Leopold's reign, the Congo was unknown territory to Europeans. For Leopold, it represented his last chance. The Congo was to be his new colony, at any cost. The man who was going to make this possible was Henry Morton Stanley. A former workhouse boy from Wales, he had made himself into one of the greatest explorers of the age, and one of the roughest. His expedition to cross Africa from east to west was the most expensive ever undertaken. Stanley, coming from the east, was getting into the Congo through the back door.